Rain splattered hard against the cracked sidewalk outside the auto shop, hissing as it hit the warm hood of a beat-up 2003 Honda Civic. The smell of oil, rust, and wet pavement mingled in the air. Ethan wiped the sweat from his forehead with the back of his grimy hand, squinting as he leaned over the engine. He was down his last spark plug. His rent was overdue, and the lunch he had packed, half a sandwich and a bruised apple, was still untouched in a paper bag under the tool bench. But none of that mattered the moment he saw her. She pulled up like a ghost out of the storm, headlights flickering, bumper hanging by a thread, one was shrieking like it was ready to fall off. The car jerked to a stop outside the garage, and the engine coughed one last time before dying completely. The driver's side door creaked open, and out stepped a girl who looked like life had just finished chewing her up. Maybe early 20s, soaked to the bone, hoodie clinging to her frame, hair tangled with rain. She clutched a small duffel bag like it was the only thing she owned. "Hey," she called, voice barely carrying through the rain. "Sorry, I think my car just gave up on me." Ethan didn't even hesitate. "Pop the hood," he said, already grabbing a light. She looked stunned. "Wait, don't you have other cars to fix or something?" He shot her a small smile. "Other cars can wait. Yours sounds like it's dying in real time." She laughed a little. It sounded tired, hollow, but grateful. 15 minutes later, Ethan had diagnosed the poor car. Transmission was shot, alternator failing, front axle damaged. It was a miracle it had made it this far. She stood quietly while he explained, arms wrapped around herself, teeth chattering. "Honestly," he said, "this car needs a mercy killing." Her eyes darted away. I don't have money right now." Ethan leaned against the hood, arms crossed. "What's your name?" "Kayla." "Well, Kayla, lucky for you. I'm not the type to kick someone when they're already face down in the mud." He walked over to the corner of the shop and came back with a dry towel and a thermos. "Here, get warm. I'll do what I can." Her lips trembled. I didn't expect kindness today. I don't hand out invoices to people fighting for their lives. Pay me whenever life gets easier." Her chin quivered, and for a second, she looked like she might cry, but she didn't. Instead, she nodded slowly, her voice a whisper. "Thank you." That was the moment it started. Ethan worked on her car until well after the sun had dipped beneath the skyline, even though he knew he wouldn't see a dime. He replaced what he could, adjusted what he couldn't, and when Kayla sat in the driver's seat again, the engine coughed but came back to life. Barely, but it lived. "It'll run for a while," he said. "Long enough for you to get somewhere safer." She looked up at him like she was seeing a person for the first time. "You fixed it. You actually fixed it." "Sort of," he said with a shrug. "Don't drive it across the country, though. She's fragile." Her smile came slowly, but it stayed. Ethan gave her his card. "Call me if she acts up again, or if you just need someone to talk to." Then, just like that, she was gone, and he went back to work on a truck he didn't even like. But 4 hours later, everything changed. Ethan was in the middle of closing up when the sound of engines, not one, but multiple, shattered the quiet. Headlights swarmed the shop like fireflies. 7 blacked-out SUVs pulled up in a perfect, precise line. Each one bore a license plate worth more than his whole damn shop. Men in suits stepped out, earpieces, tactical boots, and then Kayla emerged. No hoodie, no duffel bag. Now she stood tall in a long designer coat, heels clicking against the pavement, eyes sharp, powerful. Ethan dropped his wrench. She walked toward him, slow, deliberate, and with a look in her eyes that said everything is different now. "Hey, Ethan," she said softly, stopping just in front of him. "Remember when you said I could pay you when life got easier?" He blinked, stunned. Yeah." She turned slightly and waved her hand toward the SUVs. "Well, life just got easier." Ethan stared, jaw slack, heart thudding against his ribs like a piston misfiring in panic. Kayla didn't look like the same girl who limped into his shop hours ago. Her eyes, once tired and flickering with hopelessness, now held authority. Her wet hoodie and broken expression were gone. In their place, elegance, fire, and something unshakable, like she'd stepped out of an entirely different world. The men behind her didn't say a word. They didn't need to. "What the hell's going on?" Ethan asked, his voice rough with disbelief. Kayla walked past him, into the dim-lit garage, her heels echoing through the silence like thunder. She touched the old Civic's hood gently, almost reverently, and then turned back to face him. I wasn't lying, she said. I didn't have money. Not then. I walked out of everything a few days ago. Disappeared. Took nothing but that car and that duffel. Ethan nodded slowly, still processing. Disappeared from what? Exactly. She gave him a sad, almost guilty smile. From being the only daughter of Martin Lockwood. Ethan's stomach dropped. Lockwood Industries. Multinational. Tech and real estate empire. Worth billions. His legs suddenly felt weak. You're Lockwood's. Yeah, she cut in. And the moment I left, he froze my accounts. Tried to force me back into the cage. Ethan's brow furrowed. But why? Kayla walked deeper into the garage, trailing her fingers across dusty tools and stained counters. He wanted me to marry someone. A merger disguised as a wedding. Someone twice my age who thinks consent is a negotiable term. Her voice cracked on that last word. Just a little, but enough. I tried to run, she continued. No cash, no cards. Just me. And the Civic I kept hidden from my family since I was 16. And you ended up here. Kayla turned back to him, her expression unreadable. And you didn't ask for anything. You didn't even flinch when I told you I had no money. Ethan shoved his hands in his pockets, feeling awkward. Wasn't a big deal. You were hurting. She walked closer. It was a big deal to me. Ethan, you showed me something I hadn't seen in years. Humanity. The way she said his name made his chest tighten. He glanced at the row of SUVs. So what's all this? She smiled faintly. My father sent them after me. But I didn't go back. I only want to take back what's mine. And I did. There was something electric in the air. Something dangerous and thrilling. Wait. Ethan squinted. You mean you didn't just go home? She shook her head. I went to war. Flashback to 2 hours ago. Kayla stormed into Lockwood Tower, soaking wet, dressed in the same hoodie she wore at the shop. Security tried to stop her. She told them to check the shareholder records. They did, and found out that months before she ran, she had transferred 37% of the company into a silent trust. Her trust. She now owned the largest single share in Lockwood Industries. And she had just enough left in her secret accounts to buy out the voting power of 2 rival board members. By the time her father walked into the boardroom, everything had already changed. You thought I'd crawl back, she told him. But I'll come back on top. Back in the present. Ethan was still trying to make sense of everything. So what now? He asked. Kayla's eyes sparkled. Now, I repay my debts. He raised an eyebrow. With an army of men in suits. She laughed. I'm not here to threaten you. I'm here to offer you a future. I'm not for sale. Her voice softened. Good. Because I'm not offering a paycheck. I'm offering a partnership. Ethan folded his arms, staring at her like she'd grown a second head. What kind of partnership? Kayla stepped closer. This garage, you keep it. But I want to turn it into something bigger. Something yours. You help me get back on my feet. Let me help you do the same. Ethan hesitated. Why me? Because you helped me when I was nobody. But just as Ethan started to consider it, a sharp knock rang out from the back door. A second later, it slammed open. A man stormed in. Late 50s, sharp suit, venom in his eyes. Martin Lockwood. Kayla. He spat. This is not over. Kayla didn't move. Oh, but it is. You think you can embarrass me? Replace me? I think I already did. His eyes snapped to Ethan. And this mechanic is the reason. Ethan stepped forward. Sir, I don't want. But Kayla raised her hand. You don't get to speak to him. Martin sneered. You think this boy can protect you? No, she said calmly. But I can protect him. The tension in the room was like a live wire. One spark, and everything would explode. Martin Lockwood's presence filled the garage like poison in the air. Suited, smug, and seething, he didn't look like a grieving father. He looked like a man cornered. And men like him were most dangerous when they felt power slipping through their fingers. You really think you've won, Kayla? Martin growled, stepping closer. Do you understand the kind of war you've just declared? Kayla didn't flinch. You taught me everything about power, remember? You raised me to survive wolves. So now I'm howling back. Ethan stayed rooted between them, not speaking, but not moving either. He was a mechanic, not some player in billionaire politics. But here he was, being stared down by a corporate god with blood in his eyes. I will bury you, Martin hissed. Both of you. I will buy every lender that has their hands on this dump and burn it down just to watch him scream. Kayla stepped in front of Ethan, protective and bold. You go after him, she said, voice steel-edged, and I will leak everything. Every offshore account, every hostile buyout, every silenced accusation, every under-the-table threat you've ever made. Martin froze. I didn't come to fight dirty, she continued. But if you touch Ethan, I'll play just like you. And trust me, I'm younger, hungrier, and twice as ruthless when it comes to people I care about. Ethan blinked, stunned. Care about? Martin looked like he wanted to strangle someone, but instead, he clenched his jaw and snapped his fingers. His security detail stepped back toward the SUVs. This isn't over, Martin snarled. Kayla smiled coldly. It never is with you. And then he was gone. The silence that followed felt like the first breath after a car crash. Kayla slowly turned toward Ethan, her face softer now, less warrior, more woman. I'm sorry, she said quietly. Ethan exhaled. You don't need to apologize for protecting me. No, she said, stepping closer. I need to apologize for dragging you into a war you didn't ask for. He looked at her, voice steady. You didn't drag me anywhere. I chose to help you. I'd do it again. Her eyes glistened. I didn't know where else to go that night. But you didn't just fix my car. You gave me back something I didn't know I'd lost. What's that? Hope. Over the next 2 weeks, Ethan's shop changed faster than he could keep up. New tools, brand new lifts, a full renovation crew, everything upgraded. But he made one thing clear. The soul stays. This place was built with sweat, he told Kayla. We keep the grit, the scars, the story. And she agreed. She didn't just throw money around. She asked. She listened. She respected the dream. But not everyone did. One morning, Ethan came in to find the garage door spray painted. Get out, gold digger. She's using you. He scrubbed it off himself. The next day, his supplier canceled a major order, claiming conflicts of interest. That afternoon, his bank account froze due to a routine fraud flag. Ethan slammed a wrench down on the work table. This is him, isn't it, Martin? Kayla looked gutted. Yes. He's trying to isolate you. Break you financially. Ethan paced. I can handle broken parts. I can't fix a reputation once he poisons it. Her voice shook. Let me help. You are. He snapped, then softened. But this is my fight now too. That night, Ethan stayed late. He pulled an old photo from under the counter. His mom, grease on her cheek, smiling with pride. She built this place from nothing. Raised him in the shop. Taught him what loyalty meant. What work meant. And now someone with money and a bruised ego wanted to erase that. Not on his watch. The next morning, Ethan called a press conference. He stood outside the garage, in his oil-stained jacket, next to Kayla, now dressed simply, no makeup, just a real self. 2 weeks ago, he began, I gave a stranger a free repair because she needed help. He looked at her. She turned out to be someone powerful. And because I help her without asking for anything, now people are asking why. He turned back to the cameras. Because kindness doesn't need a profit margin. The video went viral overnight. But just when things began to calm down, a fire, midnight, smoke, flames licking the walls of his back storage area. Ethan woke to sirens and neighbors banging on his door. By the time he got there, the damage was done. Tools, parts, invoices gone. Kayla found him in the ash, black soot on his hands. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Ethan looked up, jaw tight. He's trying to break me. She knelt beside him. Then we rebuild stronger. He looked into her eyes. Not unless we end this. Kayla stood slowly. Then let's end it. The fire changed something in Ethan. The moment the flames died, the old Ethan, quiet, kind, just get through the day Ethan was gone. And what rose from the ashes? A man who refused to be a pawn in anyone's game. I know a guy, Ethan said the next morning, wrapping his burned knuckles. Used to work in cyber forensics before he started fixing trucks. If Martin has dirty secrets, we're digging them up. Kayla blinked. You sure you want to get involved this deep? He looked her in the eye. You said he's dangerous. So let's be dangerous too. They worked in secret. Late nights. Burner phones. Encrypted drives. Ethan's friend, Rico, unearthed the rot beneath Lockwood Industries. Hidden payouts. Bribed inspectors. A failed bridge project that collapsed 2 years ago and was blamed on contractors. Contractors who were silenced. Kayla's hands trembled as she held the files. He let people die just to cover up faulty steel. This is it, Ethan said. This is how we finish it. 3 days later, Headlines exploded. Lockwood Empire under investigation for corporate negligence. Da opens probe into Lockwood's offshore accounts. Martin Lockwood's face plastered every news screen. But he wasn't arrested. Not yet. Instead, he sent a text to Kayla. Meet me. One last time. Come alone. I'm going with you, Ethan said, pulling on his jacket. She looked at him. He said alone. I don't care. They met in a cold, empty warehouse Martin once used to ship parts overseas. He stood in the center, calm, but hollow-eyed. You think this makes you better than me? He asked her. You leak a few files, and suddenly you're queen of the empire? Kayla stepped forward. I don't want to be queen. I want to burn the damn throne. Martin's eyes flicked to Ethan. And what about you? You willing to throw your life away for her? Ethan answered without hesitation. I already gave it meaning by standing with her. Martin stared at them both, then laughed. I underestimated you. Again, Kayla said quietly. As they walked away, Martin didn't stop them. He didn't scream or threaten. He knew. The war was over. And he'd lost. 2 weeks later, Ethan stood outside the newly rebuilt garage. Fresh paint. New sign. Same name, Marla's Auto and Sons. Named after his mother, just like she wanted. But this time, the parking lot wasn't filled with rusted pickup trucks. Now it had news vans, luxury cars, and customers from across the city. All coming not just for repairs, but to support him. Martin Lockwood's empire crumbled fast. After the files went public, prosecutors moved in. Board members resigned. Deals collapsed. Shareholders fled. With a real twist, Martin wasn't arrested for fraud. He was arrested for attempted arson, thanks to a neighbor's doorbell camera, catching him the night of the fire. Kayla made sure the footage got into the right hands. When the dust settled, Ethan found himself standing in front of a crowd at a city charity event Kayla organized in his name. He didn't like microphones, didn't wear suits, but he stood up anyway. I fixed a stranger's car one rainy night, he began. Didn't charge her a dime. People called me stupid. Soft. Said I'd never make it like that. He looked over at Kayla, standing at the back of the crowd, her eyes filled with tears. But that act of kindness, it didn't just come back. It came back with a storm. Not because she was rich, not because she saved me, but because she remembered. He swallowed hard. And because when the world tried to break me, she stood by me. Later that night, Ethan found Kayla sitting on the garage steps, barefoot, dress shoes off, sipping a soda like it was the most normal thing in the world. You never told me why you chose to stop at my shop that night, he said, dropping beside her. She smiled. I didn't choose. What? I was crying so hard, I couldn't see the road signs. Took a wrong turn. Ended up in your neighborhood. He blinked. So fate, huh? She looked at him, her voice soft. No. Kindness. This place, it radiates it. He was quiet for a long moment, then asked, so what now? She reached out, took his hand. Now, we build something bigger. Not just an empire. A life. They didn't fall in love overnight. It was slow, honest. Built like the engines Ethan rebuilt. One piece at a time. But years later, when people told the story of the broke girl who turned out to be a billionaire, and the mechanic who gave her kindness with no strings attached, they didn't talk about the fire, or the wealth, or the headlines. They talked about that sentence Ethan said to her on a rainy night, when she had nothing left. Pay me whenever life gets easier. And how she did. Tenfold.